So, my daytime version of the level stays mostly faithful to the original concept art by Gray Shuko that we used for our preliminary grey boxing. It has the same kind of cyberpunk aesthetic in mind, so most of the props and assets are probably going to be very similar in general, especially in regards to how they might be modeled, placed, and textured. I'd also say that the level's key landmarks would stay true to their intended function as they are depicted in the original concept as well, like the soccer pitch, for example, or the flop houses to the right, or the large, towering industrial buildings to the left, with their beams resting on the rundown flop houses. At nighttime, however, I based the atmosphere on Bioshock's Rapture. Despite being something as extreme as an underwater city, I feel that Rapture's murky, dark blues translate well into the Shuko level by conveying a lively, dystopian atmosphere. The dark blue fog could be interpreted as the result of pollution and just kind of gives the impression of how cold and heartless the place is, which I suppose is something Rapture has in common with cyberpunk Hong Kong as seen in the 1995 version of Ghost in the Shell. Speaking of cold and heartless, the narrative of my level design concerns that of class struggle, taking a look at the life of the poor in a dystopian cyberpunk megacity, the relationship between areas of urban decay and areas of heavy industry and commerce. This was one of the themes behind Bioshock and Rapture, and since my nighttime build was inspired by them, it was natural for me to adopt a similar lore as well. In the future, big business and the dollar reign supreme. Net neutrality has been abolished and neglected so that the corporations have complete dominance over how the internet works around here. The people who used to stand up for a free internet have now sold themselves out. People who can't afford a free, complete internet experience are now at the mercy of their corporate overlords. The poor live in squalor, working away in big, high-tech factories, some of which are located as close as a stone's throw away from their rundown housing as depicted in my level. The corporations manipulate them, breeding them into the perfect cattle to keep the wheels turning. They do this by saturating their apartments with advertising signs and just plain manipulation of the internet with that big communications relay they've got installed on the roof of the flophouse. Think you can get away from your job? Your workplace is literally attached to your home with big metal beams to hold it up. They also transfer electricity from your factory's underground power plant. You're living on corporate property. And the only way out of this dump is a bridge that awkwardly leads out of the shipping warehouse. And oh, you can play soccer with your ugly co-workers and families too. Speaking of soccer, how about this award-winning eyeball from Apple for the low price of $1,800? Buy now and you get a free copy of 5 Spins at Fidgets. Okay, enough of that. I was thinking that in order to better convey the sense of this being an overly capitalistic society, there should be a whole abundance of neon signs for various businesses located on the exterior of the Flophouse complex, even on the rundown section that's even further rundown than usual, similar to what they have in Kowloon in Hong Kong, and Ghost in the Shell's 1995 depiction of that. Maybe there could be cranes and containers and other high-tech shipping equipment around the designated shipping warehouse area. Maybe the borders of the entire facility could be covered by a large suicide prevention wall that still gives decent views of the city surrounding it, especially if you stand further away from it. Like, it kind of gives a suggestion that the whole area is on this kind of artificially elevated landmass. Hence why you only see a horizon in the Gray Shuko concept art. And of course you've got the standard benches and bins around the soccer field, which was improvised from an existing pipe system. I guess the corporation was nice enough to build their pipes like that, knowing that the workers were going to play soccer and buy their balls, of course. As for my core role within the project, I most look forward to blocking and to a lesser degree lighting, as I feel most confident with them. However, I do feel the need to develop my modeling and texture skills, so I probably might get it involved in that. But the extent of which depends on what's really required of the team. So if all the blocking and lighting members are all sorted out, no worries and whatnot on their behalf, I might spend more time on modeling and texturing. If not so much, then I'll probably only delve into it when there's extra time. I'm most looking forward to having the environment fleshed out so that it's convincing and up to detail with Shuko's concept art, and yet also conveys that cyberpunk Bioshock vibe at night believably. So yeah, that's my proposal for my take on developing an environment based on Grey Shuko's concept art.